everyone a big warm welcome to the first alumni sponsored high-rise masterclass. For all of you that don't know our masterclasses, it's usually a format an hour long, so we'll stop at 7 p.m. sharp, where we invite external experts to speak on a topic that they feel extremely passionate about or that they're excited about. Today, for the very first time, we do have 3 experts, however, not external, but our very own high-rise community members that I'll quickly introduce in a minute. Today, it's something that many of our candidates and alumni have requested, and that is to record a masterclass on what are now your learnings on how to land a tech sales job. And we picked 3 people that have landed jobs at reputable companies that obviously also performed well during our program, and they will share their learnings today. First, some hold items. For those of you that are new to Zoom, at the very bottom, you see a chat icon. Please feel free to leave your questions there. Okay, so anything that you have in the next hour, you don't need to wait, just dump it there. I will groom it. I will be the moderator, and I will pull from those questions in between at the very end. So feel free, whatever comes up, please ask, because we want to make sure we use the time wisely for you. Okay, so with that being said, big warm welcome again, our 3 panelists, Linda, Valerie, and Sebastian. And we'll start out by you, please quickly introducing yourself, obviously saying who you are, maybe just very quickly, 20, 30 seconds. What did you do before high-rise? So what was your job? What did you do? When did you do high-rise, our bootcamp, the program? And now where do you work afterwards? And Valerie, I'll start with you since you're closest to me on the screen. Over to you.
So hi everyone. So I hope you're all doing well. I'm Valerie. I work at Hubspot. I started, or basically I was working in marketing before. And before I started a High-Rise Academy coaching program, and I landed a job at HubSpot, and I started at HubSpot on the 1st of March. I did 1 month of onboarding training, and now I'm a full-time BDR at HubSpot, and I really enjoy it. So next.
Great. Thank you. Linda, you're up.
Hi everyone. My name is Linda. I started at High-Rise in November 2021, and I graduated on the 3rd of February, of this year. And before that, I was working in healthcare with disabled people. So this has been a really great jump for me, career-wise. I loved every bit of it, and I can only recommend this school as it really shapes you professionally and personally. So I now work for enterprise company. It's a software data intelligence company called Colibra, which is been growing very fastly. Just to give you a perspective, 500, we have over 1,000 employees. 500 of them all started last year. So wow. That's and we are hiring another 500 this year. So it's a company that is growing very fast, is tailored to enterprise customers, and it's just really great, and I love it. I'm a BDR there, and I'm hoping to set up my own BDR team, because I'm the only person in charge of the DACH region. And as we are growing very fast, my bosses are hoping that I will have my own squad team.
Yes, so and you know where to go for that.
Yes,
hopefully.
I do.
Recruiting more high-risers. Cool.
Yes.
Thanks, Linda. I'm very happy to have you today. And now over to you, Sebastian. Please introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Sebastian. I have a master's in technology management and worked for 6.5 years in finance and project management. And I started with Highrise November of last year in the same squad like Linda. At the beginning, when I considered to do Highrise, I was 32 years old. And yeah, I was also wondering, is it the right step for me now? And yeah, I really enjoyed it. I'm now since 1st of April at Zscaler, which is the world's, the global leader for cybersecurity, for cloud security. And yeah, in my ramp month now, I'm on 200% quota. So I would say Highrise really helped me a lot to achieve this. Yeah, that's from my side for the introduction.
Beautiful. Bunch of high performers in the call. Great. Very, very happy to hear. Now with all three of you, again, I'm extremely happy because it's the first time that we have a format like that and that we speak again after you having graduated. So it's the reality check. Now, turning to our webinar, the first thing that I would like to ask you, maybe starting with one of you, and that being you, Linda, the first thing that our candidates and students ask is, well, how many interviews should I entertain at the very same time? You know, you have some that get requested by our hiring partners, some get other requests on LinkedIn, get 15, 20 emails and being completely swamped. What for you was a good number and how many did you entertain in parallel interview process with companies?
Well, because for me it was very overwhelming and it was a new experience. I had to learn on the go, but I realized that saying yes to everyone wasn't really helping my cause or theirs, because if you have too many interviews, having a lot of interviews at the beginning is great because you get to practice your pitch and you get better with every conversation that you have, talking about what your values are and what you are looking in a company to reflect on those values. I think it's wisely to narrow down on two specific things. So you have to ask yourself, what is important for you? Like one thing that was important for me was my base salary. So the way that I got my numbers down to not having that many interviews is that I had a criterion saying, okay, my base salary can't be under 40,000. And so every time I would have a conversation with someone and they would say, well, we're really interested to hire you and to have conversation. And I would say that, be like, oh, no, it's actually lower. So then you kind of like filter it out.
Mm-hmm.
And I think if you have like, then just only those companies that actually target those two things that are important for you. For me, it was base salary and company culture. Then you have a pool of like, I don't know, 2 to 3 interviews maybe per day. That from then on, you can also then filter back down to maybe having just 3 candidates that you will maybe go to have like a panel interview. So that's what helped me.
I know you had quite a few, Linda, right? Do you know in parallel? Do you remember how many you had in parallel
Yeah, I do.
at one point?
Yeah, I had at the beginning, I had about 16 interviews in 1 week. And then I cut it down.
I remember you were super stressed.
I was
crazy.
Yeah, I had like 3, 4 interviews per day. And it's just, I just realized it's wearing me down and it was just too much. So I just really, I started thinking, okay, what method can I use to get this number down? Because it's not about quantity, it's about quality. So, and that's how I came to actually to the 2 final companies, which was a hiring company, Legatus, and Colibra. So that's how I could then narrow it down.
Perfect. Valerie, Sebastian, just shortly, how many did you have at one time in parallel interview processes?
I think the most was like 4 in 1 week or 5. When they asked me in the beginning, but then I tried to reschedule it and told them, sorry, I cannot, I'm not available at this time. And yeah, I also tried to see which companies I'm most interested in and then put them kind of in the middle. So kind of that you can practice at first with companies that are your like priority B, and then you get already a bit of experience, and then you do priority A companies after like a couple of weeks, 1 to 2 weeks.
It's a good piece of advice. Valerie, for you?
Yeah, I would recommend doing like 4 to 5 interviews parallel, because you have to do quite a lot of research. And also if you get to the next stage, you have to prepare more. So I would focus on that, because they won't run away. The opportunities will be there. So pick a few favorites, do your research, preparation is key. And like Linda said, just choose your priorities. What is important to you. If it's basic salary, for me it was the product, the company culture, and that I can work remotely. So it's up to you. But I would recommend not doing more than 5 interviews at a time.
Which is what our learning is too, by the way, right? To really prepare yourself. Also be respectful to the company. For all of you listening, it's important. It's a two-way street. You want them to be respectful with your time, but the same applies to you. They at least expect you to be prepared for what the company does, why you want to work for them. Now, one thing, Sebastian, let's maybe go back and be a little bit more high level. What did you see as the standard recruiting process? Like in general, how many stages did you see companies have? And what comes first, second, and then maybe what's the kind of last conversation you have?
So in the beginning, of course, you apply or they contact you, like in normal application process. Then you have a first call with HR mostly, where they ask you for a quick pitch of your CV, ask you, why do you want to work in sales? Maybe ask you, why do you want to work at our company? Then in the next stage, you have, so you always have like 3 rounds. So HR, then you're the person that is probably your future manager, so, or your team lead. He might ask you specific things like, hey, can you give us a cold call? Let's do a role play. Or what do you think are the pain of our customers, or what is the USP of our product or our solution? And so the second round is more sales specific. And then the third round, you often have with the boss of your direct manager. Then it's again more general about your motivation, about your personality, and less sales specific.
Beautiful. Yeah. And then sometimes some companies have a fourth process. And with smaller organization, then it's often the founder or it's the head of Germany, and that can be anything, format free. That is then just putting you to a test, giving you little mind quizzes, or just assessing ultimately if you are fit for culture. Now for our round here today, let's focus on the first and the second interviews, because that's most often what you can prepare for. The first one being the motivational interview, the second one, a case study. Now asking you 3, what are the most common questions that you've seen recruiters ask you in the first interview? Yeah, I mean, for everyone listening now, knowing what they can prepare for. Now, maybe since you started, Sebastian, you want to take the first round. What are questions that are common that came up?
Why do you want to work in sales? Why do you want to work in our company? What prepares you for sales? And one big advice I would give to everybody, this is not like in university or like in school, so you are allowed to take your notes. You can just write everything down before, like a piece of paper, and then just use it in the interviews or like a Google Docs.
Valerie, anything to add? Any questions that you saw come up?
Yes, tell me about yourself is something you have to think about your CV and how to position yourself, and also how do you handle challenges? Because as you know, sales is about resiliency and you have to stay motivated or motivate yourself, and about discipline. So yeah, they need to see something in you that you can handle the workload and yeah, stay resilient and motivated the whole time. So
Great. Now, you've already said something, Sebastian, which is an advice, right? Now, for you, Lindner, what is something that you would recommend career starters in tech sales to definitely do for the first interview with a recruiter? How can I prepare for a first interview? What should I do?
Well, definitely learn everything about the product. Sorry, my bad. Learn everything about the product that company is selling and about the company. They always like to see that you've done your homework and that you're interested in what they have to sell. So that's definitely one.
Cool. Sebastian, how long, because I know you're very structured, right? You had the project management background. How long should you prepare for a first round interview with a recruiter, or how long did you spend preparing?
So in the beginning, I needed more time, and I always followed the same process. So in the end, I needed like between 20 minutes and 40 minutes, because it's like the name of the company, what problems do they solve, to whom do they sell to, what is the funding round, which venture capital funds are invested in them. Yeah, Google, just type in the name on Google and you will get a lot of news. And then this preparation was also good for my own questions that I asked in the end of the first interview. Like, I saw that you had now the new funding round. What new goals come from that? So they see that you are really interested in the company and have some clue about what they want to do and what is their business model.
Great. Did any of you three ever get feedback now on your first round interview, right? The motivational interview, on things that you could have improved, or that they didn't like so much, or that they would recommend you to work on or rethink? No? Or is that something that comes up in later stages, maybe after the case study interview?
Yeah.
I did.
So one or two times it was clear quite early that they were looking for somebody that was, for example, coming to their office in Berlin, which is perfectly fine, but I was located in south of Germany with no plans to move to Berlin. So that was a bit surprising that this wasn't clarified beforehand, but I think there was just some miscommunication. Yeah.
Okay. Valerie, you want to say something?
Yes, I had a point of contact who always called me after each interview, and she gave me feedback right away, which is an advantage. HubSpot does that all the time, so you know if you know when you're in the second round and you get some feedback. So I quite like that. So you can kind of see where you stand. So yeah, that you will get that definitely.
Perfect. When asked, why do you want to get into sales? What is something that you should definitely not say? Anything that you can share on that one? I don't know, Valerie, also from your experience?
That's a bit tough because that's more of showing a lack of motivation, I would say, and lack of interest in the product. So
what was your motivation to get into sales? What did you say when asked that question?
I've done the job before, and I really enjoy the kind of competitive and fast-paced environment. So I like always being challenged. That motivates me. And you work with a team, but you also work for yourself. So I like the challenges thrown at you and to overcome them. And you rise when you actually have challenges. And I don't like a boring 9-to-5 job where you always do the same stuff. I mean, you do a lot of routine stuff, but you can grow really quickly. So you get an expert at what you do. So motivation should be a big drive. You need to be hungry all the time. Like Linda said, either it's earning a lot of money or, I don't know, being the best of the team or the company. You need something for your motivation. And when you show that will and drive, they see that you will perform.
Perfect. Great. Now, let's say you passed the first stage, right? They believe your motivation. They think that you're prepared, you were respectful, they like your energy, and overall, you know, they just kind of think that you fit the team. Okay, and then you invited to the second stage, and as Sebastian said, then usually talk to your future manager, who's the sales lead, maybe the head of SDR, if you're applying for an SDR job, and they're giving you a case study. What are things that you saw in the case study being thrown at you? And here you start, maybe, Valerie. What did you do at HubSpot?
I had a role play interview. Basically, I was the BDR and I had to do a discovery call. So I got a contact, basically a name and a LinkedIn profile, and I had to do my research and how to approach that person once I get connected with that person. And they want to see how you do your upfront contract, basically how you introduce yourself and kind of a little warm up, and then you go straight into the questions. So I prepared questions. Qualification questions. That's what you also learn at Highrise. So it's basically the same thing. You just script the interview or the discovery call, and you go through it. And at HubSpot, it lasts about 30 minutes. So basically, you start right away into your discovery call. You earn the role for like 10 minutes, and then they break up. Then they give you feedback. And then you have to do the whole thing again. But this time you have to include the feedback you got from the or the manager or whoever does the interview. And they want to see that you're coachable. So you have to include the feedback. And you will get feedback from the person who's calling you afterwards, what you've done well, what you liked. And so, yeah, that's how it is.
Perfect.
It doesn't have to be perfect. So
what is most important, you think? What did HubSpot judge you on when they broke you up, interrupted you, and had you run again? What did they evaluate you on?
He wanted me to address more of the pain points, go deeper into the pain points, not to be too much on the surface, or basically kind of show empathy for the customer and kind of find out what they want, not just tick off your list of questions. So basically kind of it was also hard because I scripted it and then I noticed, oh, it's not going the way I scripted it. So you kind of have to switch and be flexible and kind of, just listen actively, don't interrupt the prospect, and try to find something they want to solve, like try to find their problem, and then basically ask as many questions as you can to qualify that person. Basically, that's what they want to see, that you ask good qualified questions that kind of discover or uncover the pains of the prospect.
And I think HubSpot does it very aggressively, right? Having you stop and then running again. But it's a prime example that what tech companies mostly screen for is coachability. Yeah, so it's your ability to receive feedback openly, not be defensive, and listen to it, incorporate it, and apply. And that, like in your case, 2 minutes later. to see how fast are you in thinking and learning, and are you somebody that they think is worth investing into, that can go through the learning curve. Now, Linda, did you have similar experiences, or what are some of the things that you had to do in your case study interviews?
Yeah, so I had 4 interviews, 2 with HR, and then 1 with my line manager, and then the last one was a panel interview. And I was supposed to prepare a presentation with pretending to contact an existing client, so the chief data officer of Adidas Global, and they wanted to see how I would personalize that email, and what subject line I would use to ensure that the email would be opened by someone so high up in the company. And so I wrote the email, I broke it down into segments, and I explained exactly what my intro was, how I personalized it, why I personalized it in that way, what the pain was, and the solution, and how our software could be of good value. So value selling points. Yeah, and they loved it.
Do you remember your subject line that you had for the email?
No, I don't.
Okay.
But I think it had something to do with, so basically the guy that I was approaching, he had like in his about section, he had the first line was, my mantra in life is having a positive mindset. And funny enough, I have on my own LinkedIn profile as a banner, mindset is everything. So I think I incorporated that mindset is everything into the subject line, and how I found that fascinating, and then elaborated a little bit more in my intro. And yeah, and they actually, funny enough, after I got hired, they showed it to him, and he said it was brilliant. Yeah.
Nice, because it's non-salesy. It's personalized and it's non-salesy. Yeah, it made them curious to open. I think that's the key to a good subject line. Do you remember anything, Linda, from any negative feedback that you received on your case study interview?
Nope.
No?
I didn't get any negative.
Yep.
That's always
Sebastian,
lucky.
great. And Sebastian, how about you? Any learnings from your case study interviews? What was thrown at you?
So one time I had a cold call role play, and the other time a cold email test where I got a lead, like the LinkedIn profile. Oh no, just like I should Google the CIO of Wacker Chemie, of this some German chemical production company, and then how I would write a cold email. And there I, of course, did some research about this industry, about what would be relevant to them, the pain, and how the product can fix this. In both cases, so in the cold email and in the cold call, I used the, let's say, templates or frameworks that I learned at Highrise, and just applied them. Of course, it's also allowed to kind of script out the cold call before, so you can just read from the script as you will do it actually in the job in the beginning. And both times I passed it, so I got an offer in the end from both companies. So yeah, I think the Highrise learnings really do the job.
Any feedback that you got that you still remember today from any of the case studies?
So my manager in my current job sent me then some screenshot from the Slack channel that was happening during the interview. And his boss, so it was a panel interview with 3 people. So his boss sent to another one the words, "Lol, the cold email is perfect." And then the other person wrote, "I will include it into our internal learning material."
I remember that.
Yeah.
So it's great. So the high-rise templates work. That
Mhm.
makes us very happy, obviously, and also
They definitely do.
for everyone here that is in our current program facing the interviews. Make sure you read the prep materials. It's important. They do work. Now, one thing for the three of you. Did you, just if you remember, was there something that in your case was best practice? Things that you always did? I know, certain question that you asked. I don't know, maybe you sent a follow-up email after the meeting. Anything that you did that you got good feedback on that you would recommend others? Hey, keep doing or introduce that to your standard practice? Anything that you can think of? Sebastian, you're nodding?
Yeah, I have 3 points. So number 1, treat it as a sales call. Always ask for the next step. So in the end of each interview, of each round, ask, so what is the next step? Or what would you prevent from hiring me? Or what would you like to learn more about me? So treat it like a sales call. Then number 2, also ask your own questions. For example, how many of your salespeople are hitting quota? How many in % of the team are achieving the full quota? And the third one is that you should also, in the call with your direct manager, after the call, think for yourself. Is there a sympathy with this person? Do you think that your future manager likes you, will support you, will help you in the beginning? So this is also like your gut feeling is also very important. It's not just the hard facts, it's also like the chemistry and what your subconscious says about it. Yeah.
Beautiful. Love that. Treat it as a sales call. Really.
I would also,
yeah,
I would also add that one thing I asked a lot of the managers that were interviewing me at the end, which always kind of blew them away because they were like startled and they didn't know what to answer, was I like to ask the question, what have you learned or what impact has this company had on you since you've been working there? Because it kind of like, it gives you an insight of how, like, what kind of culture there is in the company, and if it's a company that encourages personal development. So if there's a lot that he could learn or progress from personally and professionally, then that gives a good insight for yourself to see, oh, okay, this is a company that has a focus on, you know, encouraging you to professionally develop yourself.
Great.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Plus, it says a lot about you, right? The questions that you ask are implicit to the qualities that you have as a person. Now, Valerie, felt like I cut you off. Are you about to ask or say something?
No, I was just going to add that it's so simple, but it works. So always write a thank you follow-up email. That's worth so much because it's the respect. And every time you talk to them, just send them a follow-up. What I did, what I thought was really positive was just add them on LinkedIn. If you don't have their email address, don't use it as an excuse. Just go on LinkedIn and add them and then send your follow-up, or just write it in the invitation, say thank you, it was nice talking to you, and I'm looking forward to hearing from you, something like that. But that just shows that you're really serious about the job, and that you are actively doing something. And also, if you check what the company culture is like, what Linda said was perfect. You can also check on LinkedIn how many years the people have been working on at that company. So if you see a high fluctuation, you can already tell that people won't stay long, and there might be something wrong with that company. Although in sales, you have a high fluctuation because people might change jobs, like they only stay for 1 or 2 years. But at HubSpot, when you look at the managers or internally, they stay quite a while, because they can develop in their roles, and they can just change positions and within the company internally. So people stay for many years, which says a lot about the company culture.
Yep. And so, see, just summarizing, you see, or I see patterns, right? That you've said things over again, which are very much similar to a regular sales process. You ask for the next step, you send a follow-up after a meeting, you don't drop the ball. And what you said, Linda, of your question, how has this impacted you, means you show an interest in the other person. And that's what in the end sales is about. That's what recruiting is about. It's showing an interest, right? And I think that is then always, that's the beauty since you're interviewing for sales. All of what you do during the interview process says a lot about what you're going to do as a seller. And that's the merits that they are going to evaluate you on. Yeah. Now, one of the merits that we teach it. Yeah.
One thing that, because you said that really nicely, is that what someone said at me at a company I interviewed for, you're basically selling yourself. So when they see that you're excited about your own person, your story, your CV, you know, you have to be excited about yourself. If you don't show the energy and the excitement, how will you show excitement about the product? So basically make sure that you are showing yourself or the best side of yourself, basically. Be excited and energetic, friendly, and that says a lot about you. And always be positive.
And I think all of you have that. You have the positivity, the energy. Now, despite that, okay, to not let everyone on the call think that we just picked the 3 high performers of High-Rise, if you can still recall the 3 of you, let's play through some numbers. Okay? Valerie, do you remember how many offers that you have on the table in the end for tech sales roles?
Mm-hmm. I only did 4 interviews. I denied 1 because I got an offer from Hubspot, and I had 2 saying, well, basically 2 companies said no, or like they didn't want to take me on because I got the feedback as well. I didn't really agree with the feedback, and I showed it to Dom and he didn't like it either. So, but that didn't matter because I got my dream job at HubSpot, which I interviewed for, and I wanted that job from the beginning. Also, when I interviewed with High-Rise, that was the company I mentioned and said I actually joined High-Rise because of that company, so I can have a chance.
Wow, really nice.
So
really, that was, you guys don't imagine the first time, and actually Valerie interviewed with back then one of my co-founders, Michael, saying, you know what, my dream company would be Hubspot. That's the one she ended up at, and it's the first and only one of our alumni that ended up at Hubspot. So that's how much being determined and really showing you want it makes a difference. Okay, so let's say you got 1 offer, maybe you would have gotten another one, but let's say 1.
Oh yeah, but I denied the other one. I was in the 3rd stage, but I got the offer from Hubspot and I wanted the company.
You cut it off.
So I cut it off, and that was fine for me, and I had other chances as well, but that was perfect.
Sebastian, for you, how many offers?
I had 3 offers in the end.
From how many interviews? Processes?
Maybe from the beginning 10, but this is just a guess. Some companies were in different cities and said you need to come to, it's good to come to the office, so that didn't make sense. And I also got a decline, I think, in 2 processes. So 3 offers in the end. It's quite beautiful. Good, I think.
Linda, for you?
I had 4 offers, but 2 of them I declined.
And how many processes did you have? How many companies did you interview with?
Whew.
You mentioned 18 at one point.
Yeah.
So something
around there. It was
around
a lot. Yeah.
Okay.
It was a lot.
What I want to show, first of all, that conversion rate is still phenomenal that all 3 of you have. It's something from 50% to 15%, 20%, or 15%. That's crazy good, but still with candidates like you that check all the boxes with, kind of the requirements that you need for a tech sales job, high energy, the right soft skills. Still, for some companies, it doesn't work out. And I think that's one thing, and that's what we discussed, right, Sebastian, before. Also, one parallel to sales, it's a numbers game. you don't work out for everyone, just like everyone doesn't work out for you. You have sometimes recruiters where you think, that's the representative of the company. Somehow, if that's everyone like that in the company, that's not for me. And they have the same impression of you. So just like in any relationship, sometimes it just doesn't click. So for all of you, don't be discouraged by getting just rejections.
It's normal.
It's normal.
Can I say something?
You.
Both of you do.
So-
Linda, you were first. Go first.
Okay, sorry, Valerie.
Yeah.
One thing I noticed is that I got a lot of, I only got one offer from a hiring partner and 3 offers from outside companies. But the overall feedback that I got was that High-Rise was really the school itself, the name being on my LinkedIn, was really, really, really catching people's eye. So as soon as they saw that, they were like, "Oh, you're doing a course at High-Rise. We want to offer you this and blah blah blah. And this is a really great school, and we've heard so much about High-Rise." So I remember when I was doing the second week, I think we were supposed to interview SDRs outside of like just working in Germany. I think SDRs and AEs. And the first woman that I interviewed, she was in Bonn, and she did the same boot camp with a different school. And she said that her response rate, like, she also obviously did a LinkedIn page, and she didn't have that like at all, because I told her, she said to me, I really find your profile interesting. Please let me know if when you get a job and how the experience was, and obviously how much they offered you. And I held up my bit, and I contacted her, and she said, "So how many interviews did you have?" And I said, "Well, I don't know, like 3, 4 a day." It's like, what? And she didn't have that same experience. So I think High-Rise as a name played a huge role for it.
Great. Nice. Great to hear. Valerie?
Yeah, I think it's just the beginning, if you're coming from a totally different background and you're starting with something new, it's always good to have a good foundation and basic, and you will definitely get that at High-Rise. And you have great mentors. I always felt so welcomed and always heard, and it's you get a lot of useful information, and I still nourish from that. Actually, I know stuff that my colleagues don't even know at Hubspot, so you get a lot of useful information. And but also it's like Linda said, it's like a school you have to go through, and then the job will be a little bit different, but you will always benefit from what you've learned before. And either if you do it part-time or full-time, it doesn't matter. You learn quite a lot of stuff. So it's the beginning, and it will open doors for you, definitely.
Perfect. And for everyone else on the call, right? And for all, for you, Sebastian, Linda, and Valerie, I don't even know if you're aware, but we back in the day, right? You still went through our model where we first put people through the bootcamp. We first trained them and then we placed them. Nowadays, it changed a bit, that we first place people on the job and then they're being trained while on the job. Yeah, so it's a little different. They get some basic prepping at the beginning to ace the interviews, which is why this webinar, for example, is extremely relevant for them. And so it changed. And I think that was one of the beauties in that bootcamp model, that obviously you got all the information, all the knowledge in more depth going into the interview processes. While now today, it's more of a crash course, we say, right, in the beginning, and then they're being placed and then they're being trained. Both has the pros and cons, but it was just a different model. Just for everyone here that is surprised why they talk about, hey, I don't do the bootcamp before I'm placed. It was a different model. So what are some, you have already shared some overall learnings that you had yeah, bits and pieces. Is there something that you haven't said already where you would really say, hey, make sure that is something you really do for every interview process that you are part of? So all of you have said, prepare, you need to know what the company does, you need to know why tech sales, right? Why do you want to enter that career? Why do you want to enter that company? Don't just say, oh, wait, what company is it today? Ah, yeah, so I got that. And I got that you prepare for the case studies, that you need to be receptive to feedback, that you need to follow up ideally. You show an interest in them by preparing questions at the end of the interviews. Anything else that I didn't just say now as a summary that you feel should definitely be added? Linda?
Yeah. How do you deal with objections? That's one question they all ask, because they want to see, how do you deal with stress? How do you deal with someone saying, no, I'm not interested? And one thing I found very, very helpful, which you will learn at High Rise, is that don't just give up early. Like if someone says, I'm not interested, okay, then what is it that you're not interested in? I'm not the right person. Okay, who can you recommend to talk to? Who could be the right person? And then if all fails, to then have the positive mindset to be able to say, look, my product is not for everyone. This is not a match, and it's perfectly fine. So I think that's something you should definitely also bear in mind.
Perfect. Right. Thanks, Sebastian. You want to add something?
Yeah, so number one, take notes, because if you have 5 interviews, then after the 5th one, you don't remember how the first one was. So take notes, either in a Google Docs or just on a sheet of paper. Then you can also Google a lot of things. So if you get, for example, the email test, you can just Google how to write a cold email, and just approach it. So the application process, and also you work in sales, approach it from the beginning with the mindset that you have maybe a conversion rate of like, I don't know, 2% in the job and like 5 to 10% in your application. So it's normal that you have to do 10 interviews and then you get 1 offer. That's just how it works, but doesn't matter. Everybody does that. Everybody goes through this. So don't be discouraged.
Perfect. Valerie, anything you wanted to add?
Well, always underpin your argument with an example. Like Linda said, if you have, for example, if they ask you, how do you work under pressure, or what are your weaknesses or something like that, always try to quote a situation where you actually overcome that challenge, so you can prove that you've done it in the past. So it's kind of like the STAR method. So you've learned that at High Rise. So basically that's what they want to hear and see. So not only well, that you're result and goal oriented, yeah, for example, or your intellectual curiosity or your commitment to learning. Always find examples when you applied that, so they can see how you think. And yeah, so the STAR method, just to repeat, it's the situation, task, action, result. Maybe Dom can tell you a little bit more about it, but that's the way interviews are structured.
And it's the beauty. We also still teach that in the preparation process. So for all of you that may be interested in joining High Rise, it is exactly that, right? That you don't just listen, yeah, I did that, or I would do that, but they want to test your critical reasoning also. What was the situation that you were in? What was the task that you were faced with that maybe was a challenge? What action did you take back then? So it's mostly based on what did you do in the past, and what was the result? What was the outcome? And if you answer questions like that are geared towards how did you behave at some point in the past, that's usually best practice. The STAR method. Great.
They want to see what kind of person you are, and also later on in the stage when they ask behavioral questions, for example, they want to see what kind of person you are and if you fit into the company's culture.
Yep. And also one thing for all of you, right? Stay authentic. It's the same. That's true for sales, and that's what all of you, the three of you said. You're assessing you're assessing the team's culture that you maybe work on in the future. Let them assess your culture. Don't just sell them, right? Just like in sales. Don't just try to close the meeting because you want to close the meeting. Make sure you really present yourself how you are, because otherwise you don't do yourself a favor when you act as somebody else. Then you get an offer, and then you realize, oh Jesus, it's not my culture. That's not who I am. So it's okay. Accept that then you're not invited to a second stage, and it's okay like that. Embrace it, really. One thing that I noticed, with exception of Valerie, that has her dream employer. I don't know if you, Linda, and you, Sebastian, imagined working for high-tech, high data-focused, security-focused companies, which some people might say it's not the sexiest. And when they get interview requests, no, that's
For
not
me,
my
it's
industry.
super sexy.
Oh,
Yeah.
for me too. I love it.
So that's the thing, though, is how important is, or let me put it differently, would you really recommend turning down interview requests based on, oh, that industry doesn't sound too sexy?
Yeah.
Do you think that's
Because if
worth?
you can't sell it, if you don't feel it, if you don't have the fever, I'm trying to find the perfect English for it.
Yeah.
But if you don't like,
have
in
the
German
passion
we
for
say
the product.
brennen, you don't have the fire for the product, which I realized early on in the interview stages, because I was learning a lot about our product, and I thought, wow, this is fucking amazing. This is like something really that actually needs to be spread. And that always came across when they were talking to me, because I would then pitch them back what I found so great about the product. And if you don't have that, you can't sell the product, because people buy from people. They don't buy from abstract things. And so I think it is very important to love or at least have a curiosity for what you're going into, because that's your bread and butter.
Sebastian, what do you think?
I think some people are probably intimidated by something very technical. So I did not have any background in cybersecurity or cloud security. I just knew I was interested in it, and I knew that it's some kind of growing field. But you get training on the job. You don't need to be an expert on the product. You just need to know the pains. There are super smart people in my company, like with a PhD from MIT. So but you don't have to be an engineer or a coder to bring value into those type of companies. Just go for it, give it a try, see if it interests you, and then they will also give you good training on their products when you are in the company. So don't get scared like, oh no, I don't have a PhD in computer science. This is too crazy for me. Just give it a shot.
Especially since your goal is in finding and identifying needs, right? And not needing to implement the solution. Perfect. Now, with 5 minutes on the clock and sticking to our mantra of time management also being key to working in sales, one question that came from Shani. Shani also went through our bootcamp, just recently accepted a job. Actually, I don't know, Shani, when you'll be starting. But your question is, what is your 3 advice to somebody who's just about to start their job, having graduated from Highrise? Anything in hindsight that you would think, hey, do that on your first 30 days on the job? Is there anything like that?
Can I?
Sure, go.
So my top advice would be pinpoint who are the top performers in the company, have a one-to-one with them, and ask them, okay, what is it that makes you successful? What are your strategies to not just hit your quota, but to be really in top form? That's what I've been doing, and ever since I've had my sit downs, we have 3 top performers, 1 lady and 2 guys, and it's very useful information that they can give you, because A, they've been there longer, and B, they have a formula that obviously works. And this peer-to-peer support is very, very crucial at the beginning, because you're still trying to navigate yourself through the seas and trying to figure out your own spice. But that can give you the best ingredients to find your own kind of signature in becoming successful.
Beautiful. Great. Anything you wanted to add, Sebastian or Valerie?
Yeah, so if it's a product that it's a bit complicated, like cloud security, download the case studies from their website, how the product works, what it does for the customers, and just read it a lot. Just read it often until you understand it a bit, and just read the material they have on their website until you get the main points. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Beautiful. Great. Then, with 3 minutes left in the webinar, if there are
Valerie?
no further questions.
I think Valerie wanted to say something, no?
Did you, Valerie? Because you're muted. That's why I didn't
Ah.
take it as a speaking sign.
Ah, okay.
No? Great, cool. Anything, let's start with something maybe funny or maybe a little unconventional. If there is, okay, if applicable, was there anything in the interview process that startled you, that surprised you? Like a funny question that you got, funny feedback, or where you think, oh wow, never got that question before, or anything that put you caught you off guard? Anything that you can think of? If you cannot, then it probably wasn't memorable. But sometimes it's especially, I don't know, in the last stage when they speak to a founder or the managing director, that they get questions that surprises them because they're being tested. Is there anything that happened to you?
And not in that interview process, but in interview processes in my career before, they pose some kind of stress questions to you. Just Google it, where they say, "Are you doing very, very bad until now?" And then they just want to see your reaction, how then you react in the interview. Yeah,
Okay.
but you can just Google those kind of questions, and then you are prepared for it.
Okay. Great. Stress test questions. Yeah. Valerie, anything that you were asked or the feedback that you got?
Actually, nothing unusual happened to me. I had interviews on site, and I had interviews like Hubspot that were at home all the time. So it was a good mixture, but
Good.
not really.
Well, that's a good sign, right? Then it's pretty standard what to prepare for, right? And you don't need to be stressed out even more that there's any funny, crazy questions and people going online and researching every possible
Now
use case.
there's, sorry to interrupt. Now
No.
there's somebody that asks, so how would you answer if somebody's telling you you're doing bad now? I would say, why do you think so? In my opinion, I'm doing quite well, and I think I'm a good fit for this job, and just stay relaxed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think, yeah, send me this pin is old school. It is, but also there, right? Send me this pen. The thing is, actually, it's a pretty good one if it wasn't so overused, because one of the best practice answers here is, you hand them a sheet of paper, and now you say, you create a scenario for which they need a pen. Like, hey, let's meet sometime. I need your phone number, however, and I don't have a phone with me to record it. Can you please write it down? And then they say, oh, I don't have a pen. And then you can say, well, how about this one? You want to have this pen? Yeah, those are creative solution selling, where you don't just say it's a nice looking pen, but it's be creative, right? And just like your answer to Sebastian is good. they just want to see that you don't get defensive, right? Because you'll be getting many no's and many, I don't know, unhappy prospects that you called them, and it's just to stay relaxed and not take it personal. I think that's all they want to see. Cool. We're 1 minute over on my clock. For all of you that joined, thanks a lot for taking the time. A big thanks to you, our panelists, Valerie, Linda, Sebastian. It will not be their last time. I can already say also on behalf of Gemma, our program manager, that will call on you, that will ping on you. Thanks a lot for sharing all your insights, all your advice. It's extremely rewarding for everyone in HighRise Academy to see how you're doing. That's what makes us get up every day. To all of you, that really makes us drive and makes us very, very happy, really. For all of you, Sebastian shared his learnings in a 2-pager. We'll share that with you, right, Sebastian? We're allowed to share that. And any questions that you have, feel free to reach out to me, to us. And as usual, best practice, if I were you, I would connect with Valerie, Linda, and Sebastian on LinkedIn to start building your sales community. With that being said, have a beautiful rest of your week and hopefully see you soon. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye, guys.